2021, it's a year that maybe some people would like to forget. Now, personally, for me, it's actually been a year that's actually been very memorable. And also, I've produced some really fantastic work for me. And I want to show you some of that work today, most of which I don't think I've ever vlogged. So you're going to see some of my favorite images of 2021. And I'm going to tell you the stories behind those 4 images from each quarter of last year. In the first quarter of 2021, things were still heavily restricted here in France, so you could move around but not too much. So I was lucky because I had consulted with the union, and I'm a part of the National Union of Journalists, and I was told that actually because of a book commission that I've got and other work, that I am within my rights to travel within the area that I'm supposed to be traveling in like everybody else, but I can also go a little bit wider if I really have to. So that helped me a lot because then it stopped me from going crazy, and it was enabled me to really carry out the job that I wanted to. So one of the things that I had, and I'm still working on actually, is the photographer's guide to the Loire Valley. So as you saw in many vlogs in 2021, was exploring a lot of the Loire Valley, but actually my favorite image from the first quarter comes from just down the road in the city of Tours. Now, one of the things that I had done is I wanted a really good photograph of the Cathedral of Saint Gatien, or Saint Gatien in French. And I remember being street level. I'd worked out with the photographer's ephemeris when I could get the light onto the cathedral, get it really beaming a light on there, and then just needed to wait for the weather. So the opportunity arose, and I was able to capture the cathedral from street level. But to my left, I could sort of feel this presence, and this guy had come up behind me and he said, "Hi, are you okay?" And it's just like, "Yeah, what are you doing?" And I said, I'm a photographer, I'm taking a picture of the cathedral." "Oh, okay, well, if you want, I actually have an apartment that's just here on the 3rd or 4th floor, whatever it was, and I have a balcony which has got a stupendous view of the cathedral. Do you want to come up and have a look?" So it's like, okay. Now, of course, when we're younger, we're told never talk to strangers, and obviously don't go in people's houses, etc. But I thought, well, you know what, let's just take a chance, let's go. And it didn't seem, over-threatening at all. And I just looked and thought, let's go, let's have a look. And it was actually an amazing view of the cathedral. However, the light had gone. So he looked at me and he said, "What is it you're doing?" and all these types of things, and "Where are you from?" And so we got into a long conversation, met his wife, and he said, "You know what, if you want to come back when the light's better, when the light's as you want it, you can do, and we'll give you the code to get into the apartment, because we're actually moving out anyway. So, if you can get your photograph done within the next couple of weeks, you're quite welcome to come and visit. And if you want as well, we'll even invite you to dinner one night." So it's like, okay. So I waited and waited and waited, and the opportunity arose, and I went back and I went into the apartment. They weren't there at that particular moment, and I opened up the doors to the patio, not the patio, the balcony, and the setting sun onto the west front of the cathedral, combined with this cloud that was coming over, I think, from the east, just looked absolutely amazing. And I just looked at it and thought, right, that is it. That is the one. That's probably one of the best photographs I've got of the cathedral in the city of Tours. Probably the best, I would say. I was extremely happy to get the lights that I did on that cathedral, combined with the cloud coming over. Just everything fell into place at that particular moment. And as a travel and landscape photographer, that's what you want. You wait and wait and wait for these moments, and that was it. So I think that was the 3rd attempt, but take a look for yourselves. It's never been vlogged. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen it, but otherwise, take a look for yourselves, and I'm sure you'll agree it's a pretty darn good image of Saint Gatien Cathedral. In the second quarter of 2021, things are easing a little bit here in France and other places, it seems, as well. So the vaccine, that heralded vaccine, is now out and people are getting it. And whatever your thoughts on that, that's not really up for discussion here. But, I thought, okay, this is great. It now means that hopefully things will ease. People will be able to get out and about again and freedoms will slowly be coming back. Now, talking of freedoms, things were still a little bit sort of, let's say, restricted here in France. And I was still basically stuck in the country. I couldn't really get out to do any work that I would normally do. And one weekend, my kids said to me, hey, can we come out with you to go somewhere? And it's like, yeah, sure, if you want to. But, you'll have to do what I tell you and you're not going to have to be going crazy and doing whatever else that they normally do when they're with me. So I went out and I was trying to find some good woodland. So I discovered that on the eastern side of Orléans, there is a huge, and I mean huge, forest. So we went for a walk, and I can't remember the exact reasons we were trying to go somewhere in this particular forest. There was something I was after, and I can't remember what it was. So we went for it must have been a 10-kilometer walk around this wooded area. And afterwards, I said to them, "Well, look, there's a viewing platform in the middle of the forest that you can go to, and I've never been up. Do you want to go and have a look?" So we went and had a look at that, and if you can find it, it's not that difficult to find. Google Forest Orléans viewing platform, you'll probably find it and you'll see this huge expanse of forest. But anyway, afterwards they'd asked as well to go to a castle, and I said to them, that's no problem at all. We're going to go to the chateau of Sully-sur-Loire. Now, Sully-sur-Loire is the beginning of the Loire Valley, or in the real terminology is the Val de Loire. So it's the UNESCO protected site. Actually starts, although the River Loire actually it goes along a lot longer eastwards and south of Sully-sur-Loire. At Sully-sur-Loire, that's where the UNESCO World Heritage Site starts. And when we arrived, there was some cloud, and I thought, I don't know, am I going to get something? Am I going to be showing them what it is that I can really do with the work that I do? And we had taken something to eat, and we waited, and it didn't take long, and then suddenly this bank of cloud is over in the west, and suddenly the sun just dips below that cloud. And if you've ever been out somewhere just after a storm or wherever, that sort of type of weather condition, and you get the sun and it just peeks out from underneath the cloud, that's the moment. And I looked at it and I thought, this is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful light. Because I've been to Sully so many times, I know where to go and I know where to get the shot from, even down to the lens that I'm going to use without really thinking at all. So I think it's 24mm tilt shift off the top of my head. And just absolutely beautiful, beautiful light on that castle, that old castle there. And it's one of those moments again that I look back on and I think, you know what? Yes, things were quite restricted here in France, but even though there were a number of restrictions, I was able to get out, and I was very lucky to be able to get what I got. And, when I go back, for example, and I think about the book that I want to create, The Photographer's Guide to the Loire Valley, I have to think of different scenarios, and that particular image, I think, well, it could be cropped enough that it would be the cover shot, I think, because it's just an absolutely fantastic light that was on that castle, and I'm really, really happy with it. That's my favourite image from the second quarter of 2021. The third quarter of 2021 for me was the beginning of international travel again, and also being able to carry out commissioned work. So I was extremely lucky to have 30 3 different jobs to do in Germany in July 2021. I was then able to go to Uzbekistan for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks in August 2021. And then I was lucky enough to be invited to the photography show as a speaker in Birmingham over in the United Kingdom in 2021 as well. So a huge amount of travel, really, going to Central Asia, into Europe, and then in England as well. So obviously technically the European continent. But anyway, for me, it was fantastic, for example, to be able to go to Germany, just because having been in France for several months, and it's, for me, one of those, a second period for me whereby I hadn't really been spent so long actually in France. Normally I'm traveling a lot. On average, every 3 to 4 weeks, I'm somewhere outside of France. So I'm very lucky to be able to be doing that. And so not being able to do that was sort of getting to me a little bit. So when I arrived, for example, in Germany, I was in the city of Regensburg, and I was doing 3 different jobs across, actually from east to west in Germany for 3 different clients there. So it was amazing, for example, to hear another language other than French. And I was so happy to be able to travel again. And also around this time, I picked up a job in Uzbekistan to create images for a book. And I'm not actually sure what's going on with that book right now. But basically, I was to be circumnavigating Uzbekistan. And for me, it was the realization of a dream that it's a place that I'd been wanting to go to for quite a while now. And when I arrived in the city of Tashkent, and from there I went to the west of the country, to the Autonomous Republic of Karakalpakstan. So in this particular area, you have a city called Moynak. It's a small city. Quite a number of years ago, it actually used to be underneath the Aral Sea. So it's a city that's basically sprung up, and it's quite surreal in a way to sort of be walking around thinking that where you're walking used to be the ocean. So just, it's an amazing experience. However, at that time of year, in August, it is low season for Uzbekistan because it's so hot. It averaged somewhere between 40 to 45 degrees 40 to 45 degrees centigrade every single day. And you just couldn't really do a lot in the middle of the day. Now, when I arrived in Moynak, I was with a team. So I had a team to accompany me, 2 people from the Ministry of Tourism and an amazing photographer whose name is Ferus. And the 2 people from the ministry, Sarva and Hayot, they were going to accompany me for the whole journey. And they were there documenting what it was that I was doing, and it was being broadcast on local and national television in Uzbekistan, which is quite surreal to be sort of interviewed for national TV. And when we were in Moynak, when we arrived at the place that we were going to be staying overnight, there was a young girl there, and also she had a friend there. She sort of looked at me, I looked at her, and she said, "Hello." So I looked back at her and I said, "Hello, what's your name?" And she just looked at me and said, "What's your name?" So she just repeated what it was that I said. Now, in the end, I did get it out of her what her name was. Now, I'm not going to say what her name is just because I want her privacy in some respects to be respected. So although they've allowed me to take a photograph of her daughter, the parents, I don't say, "Hey, this girl's name is," and to broadcast it everywhere. That's unfair. I can show you the image of what it is. There's a favourite image of mine and the story behind it, but I don't want to give out too many details on it. So I waited and waited for probably 4 to 5 hours for the sun to go low enough in the sky to take off some of the burning heat of the day and also get that really nice, beautiful light across the scenery. Now you might be thinking, well, what scenery is there if it's just an old seabed? Well, what's there is actually some of the remains of the fishing ships that were fishing the Aral Sea when the industry was there. So we went out, and I went with Hayot, and we were there photographing the ships. And suddenly the young girl and her friends just sort of came on to where we were, and they were messing around. It's just like, oh, okay, just stay there then. Let's sort of start taking some pictures of you and your friend. So I took a picture of her, and I think I used my 100 to 400 for this. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember it being handheld. So I took a picture, and it's almost typical kind of portrait picture, and in the background you can see one of the old ships. And I looked at it and thought, oh, this is, this really nice kind of portrait image. Hayat looked at me and nodded with approval. And suddenly she just ran, like children do. She just ran off just to play. And I quickly followed her and I got my photograph. Handheld, no real sort of setup to it at all, nothing apart from the light that we had been waiting for. And I thought, you know what? That is something special. I really love that particular photograph because for me it represents the beginning of what can only be described as an epic journey. And it says to me as well, childhood. It says old with the ship and new with the young girl. There's sort of so much there for me, and it kind of has this, maybe an odd look in a way, because a lot of the image is taken up with the ship, and you can just see her running off towards that ship, and the way her legs are and her arms, it's just everything to me that says just beautiful. And I do look at that photograph because I just have very good fond memories of that day when I met her friend, and actually there was another young lad that came along at some point as well. And it was just like, wow, this is the one. That is a photograph for me that is an absolute standout photograph of the third quarter, and probably it's one of my most favourite, if not favourite, photographs of 2021. And I got Canon to print it for me at the photography show. It's either A3 or A3 plus, and I just looked at it and thought, wow, that is just wow. I'd taken other portraits when I was there of people, which really pleased me, but this particular one, it's not a portrait, it's just it's a moment, and sometimes just a moment is the one, and for me it is the one of the third quarter, and I think probably the whole of 2021. So take a look for yourselves and judge for yourselves. In the final quarter of 2021, from October to December, I was still able to travel, and which I'm very grateful for. Actually, why you haven't seen a lot of vlogging from me in the last quarter is because of the amount of travel and also some of the jobs that I've had to do. So for example, in December, I was working again in Germany for a client, and it's the work that I did there, because it was a last minute trip. We were waiting for the weather, plus the amount of time that it's taken to process the work, because it's time-lapse work, has meant that I've not been able to do vlogging, because for me that takes precedent over the vlog. It has to, because it's my day-to-day work. But in any case, in early October I went to Puglia to do a job down there in southern Italy, and then a few days later I flew back again into the Dolomites, and it's into the Dolomites that I want to take you to the final image, an image that you would have seen the cover shot of on one of my previous vlogs, but you wouldn't have heard the story behind it. So if you've been following me for quite a while now, you'll know that I go to the Dolomites pretty much every year, and I have been going every year apart from 2020 since 2016. And when I was there, I was running a photography workshop, which I do and I have been doing, and I will be doing again this year, as it's now 2022. When we were there, some of the clients that were there, they said to me, so how do you recce a photograph? How do you recce somewhere to go to see if it's going to work or not? And I said, well, there's sort of various things that go into it. I find inspiration from different places, and I might look at something and think, I really like that. I need to find out where it is and whatever else. So I took a day and I showed them how it is that I did it. And that particular part of that journey was in the first part of the tour. That was in the Chiusa area, a famous area of the Dolomites. And, it kind of worked out okay. And at the end of the day, we got some with some nice images over one of the mountain passes. And in the second half of the tour, we went to a place that I had seen the last time that I was there in 2019, but I hadn't had the opportunity to go to. So at times I'm there sort of thinking, well, you know what, I've just come back from the Dolomites. I kind of want to go back again. And actually in a week's time from today, when this is being recorded, I will be back in the Dolomites. I will have just landed back in Venice Marco Polo Airport to go back up to the Dolomites. And every time I come back, I'm always thinking, just want to go back again. I love being in the Dolomites. It's a beautiful, beautiful mountain area to go and visit. So anyway, in the second half of the photography tour that I was running, we were in Cortina area. And I do that for the tour because basically, well, there's varying reasons, which I won't go into in this particular vlog. You just have to come on the photography tour. But we were there, and there's a road that I had seen the last time that I was there, but I hadn't had an opportunity to go up. And I went up twice with my clients. And the first time we had the afternoon lights across the vista that we had and all the autumn colour and beautiful, beautiful afternoon light there. It's the wonders of late autumn light in the Dolomites, just absolutely beautiful colours. And on the very last day of the tour, I said to them, we're going to go back and we're going to see if we can get sunset to work up here. And they looked at me and said, we're going to go back again. It's like, but we've been there already. And I said, trust me, you'll see. You'll see why it is that you'll go somewhere and then you want to go again just to see what it's actually going to do. So we went there and we had, I think we arrived maybe an hour or so before sunset. So we had plenty of time to set up. We knew where we were going to go and get our shots. And at the end of the day, the light on the mountain range that sits above Cortina was just unbelievable. And everybody was just looking at each other going, you know, this is it. I mean, it's a long lens shot across to the mountains above Cortina, and it's beautiful, outstanding, dramatic mountain light, alpine mountain light over the mountains above Cortina. It's just stupendous. So yeah, that's why you have to go back at times to different locations. But there you go. I'll flick up the image and there you go. That is 2021. Here's to 2022. Thank you so much for your support over the last year and for all you long-term supporters as well since the beginning. It's extremely appreciated. Because of you, there's opportunities that I've been given to be able to do that would not have been possible. So thank you so much for what it is you do. Take it easy, folks. See you in 2022, sometime, somewhere. Stay safe. Goodbye.